Hey, Sweet Spot Sexy. Happy Workout Wednesday. It's your girl, Sabrina. I am here today to talk about a really special topic. I actually did a Facebook poll to find out what are things that you struggle with so that I can address those particular needs and be a little more specific in my weekly series. So one of the things that came up in terms of something that people struggle with in terms of fitness is results. We live in a world of instant gratification. You can click on a button and see a result right away on the computer. You can do that on your phones, on your tablets. So there's a lot of instant things that happen in 30 seconds or less. And unfortunately, fitness does not work that way. It's a very, or a little bit of a slow process, a slower process in comparison to all the other things in the world that are instant. So I wanted to help you just in terms of setting realistic goals and what to expect in your journey of fitness. In terms of what you should expect and what's considered a healthy weight loss pattern is you should be expecting to lose 3 to 5 pounds each week if you have a weight loss goal. And that's the average, and that's if you're working for somewhere between 4 and 6 days a week working out. So those are the expectations. If you are somebody who is a little more heavy set, then you might see higher numbers in your initial activity. In your first 30 to 60 days, you might start seeing where you're losing 10 pounds a week, 15 pounds a week, some really high kind of out there numbers. But you will find that that will eventually slow down and get to the average 3 to 5 pounds a week. And that's just the way it is. That's the nature of the beast. So now that we know that and we have that information, it's also important to try to think about when you want to check the scale. If you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to be checking the scale every single day because you're just going to upset yourself. And you might, most likely you're going to quit on yourself because you're going to be like, ugh, I'm working so hard every day. I'm sweating. My body is physically in pain. And I'm not seeing any movement on this scale. If you're checking the numbers every day, you're probably not. So in terms of when to check your weight, I like to do it every 30 days. Some people measure every week. And that's fine, but me personally, I like to look every 30 days. I like to, when I begin a program of any sort, whether it's an at-home program or I'm working with a trainer on something to train for something specific, I will measure and take my weight at the beginning, like the night before or the day before, and then I don't check my weight again and get on the scale until I finish my first 30 days. And then I don't check it again until another 30 days after that, and then another 30 days after that. Sometimes the numbers move. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they move in the opposite direction that I want them to go in. And that could be normal depending on what type of workout plan you're doing. For example, when I was doing P90X, there was a lot of lifting involved. So we were doing a lot of muscle toning and building muscle, which meant I was going to become heavier because muscle weighs more than fat. Which means when I got on the scale and I'm looking at numbers like 127, 130, and I'm like, okay, that's not what I expected to see at all. And those numbers are increasing, but I'm looking in the mirror and I'm looking amazing. Then I understood, okay, so I'm not necessarily dropping weight, but I am still slimming down, which also means that in addition to taking your weight and using that as a way to check your progress, it's also important to measure. Get yourself a measuring tape. I love Beachbody programs because every time you purchase one, you get a fabulous measuring tape. Voila. With this measuring tape, you can actually see what your progress is, because if you are toning and doing any kind of lifting, you're going to be heavier, but you still could be losing inches in your waistline. Still could be losing inches in your hips and thighs. Still can be losing inches around, maybe if you have some flab in the tricep area. So it's important to measure those areas as well. Ladies, sometimes we lose some of our bust and a little bit of our booty, but it comes with the territory. If it looks good, it looks good, right? So take your measurements, and I do that every 30 days as well. So I'll measure out, I do my bust, my waist, my hips, I do around my arms, and then I check those numbers in 30 days and then another 30 days after that. That will also help you see if you're making progress. Weight measuring by a scale alone is a very tricky thing because not only is muscle heavier than fat, but you weigh differently at different times of day. You weigh differently in different areas of the planet because it's based on gravitational pull scientifically. So some areas of the planet and some areas of the country and likely some areas of your house have a stronger gravitational pull than other places, so you'll weigh more. Maybe in the upstairs of your house than you do downstairs of your house. So those numbers are not the best way to base your progress. It's really good to also look at how many inches you're losing, to look at how are your clothes fitting. Are they more loose now? Then you might be making progress even though the scale numbers on the weight scale may not have changed. And then of course the frequency that you measure those things, you really should do it in 30-day increments, and that's going to really keep you motivated. The last thing, which is probably the most obvious, but something that a lot of people neglect to do, is take pictures. I measure a lot of my progress based on photos. You should take, before you begin any workout program or a period of time that you're going to be working out, you should take 3 photos. You take one of yourself front facing, another one of you standing profile, and these should be full body pictures, not just neck up, and then one of your back. Full body. So if you don't have a timer on your camera, then you are going to maybe have to have someone help you or get a couple mirrors so you can get that picture of your back. But those photos are going to tell the story. So even if you don't want to go buy measuring tape and you don't have a scale in the house, or you don't like what you're seeing on the scale, look at your photos. Take those pictures before you start. Take another set of pictures at the 30-day mark, the same angles, and look at how different your body will be. And you'll be able to compare and see the difference. So don't let those numbers be your governing thing, because it's easy to quit. And I've been there. I've been one of those persons who, oh, I really want to be only weighing, I don't know, 120 or only weighing 115. That's a little bit thin to me, but maybe, you know, whatever your numeric idea is. I only want to weigh 130 pounds, you know. Sometimes those numbers are not realistic, or they may not be healthy numbers for you, depending on your height, depending on your bone structure. So really make sure you use those pictures, use your measuring tape, and have realistic goals. You should not expect that, okay, I ran 6 days this week, I should have a 6-pack on Sunday. It's probably not going to happen. And I'll do another series about the whole 6-pack thing, because it is a progress and it is a lot of work to get one. Some people naturally have them, but I'll do a whole different episode on that. But this is my tip for today. These are some realistic goals that you can set, and realistic time intervals where you should be checking those numbers and looking at them. But they shouldn't dictate everything. Your photo should also count for something. How you feel personally should count for something. And remember all of those things. And of course, write it down. Don't just take your measurements and then be like, all right, those are my measurements, and expect yourself to remember them 30 days from now. Write it down so that way you can see the change. You might even just change an inch or half an inch, but that is huge progress, whether you realize that or not, because it takes a lot to lose an inch in the belly. It takes a lot to lose 2 and 3 inches. And when people make those type of changes, it's magnificent, and it is to be celebrated. Every little inch counts, literally. So give yourself some slack, give yourself some time in terms of really changing your body. You know, it really does. If you think about all the workout programs that are out, most of them are 90-day programs. So it really does take some time. So don't expect yourself to wake up tomorrow and be thin. You didn't put on all that weight overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight. And that's fine, and be patient with yourself. That's all I have for you. I will see you guys next week, approaching and addressing more of your topics. So until then, live healthy, live happy, love yourself and love somebody else, and be patient. And I will see you guys next week.
Everywhere I go, everywhere that I've been, the only thing I see is beautiful people.